Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode. Today I want to talk to you about speaking what we really feel. And it's really important to dive into this topic both for our personal and our professional journey. And for myself, this at times has felt clunky and I still don't always get it right. So often I hear my clients, whether they're business professionals or leaders, struggle to speak their truth. So their teams look up to them, yet within themselves they wrestle with saying what they truly feel, be it personal and be it professional. And sometimes they think what they have to say doesn't matter, or they fear it might be perceived as stupid, or even change the dynamic of those relationships. And sometimes they fear their feelings might be wrong in the eyes of others, so they hold back. And I know myself, I've done this often in the past as well. Many times, this can be really hard to do, and this can be really hard to speak our truth in moments when we don't feel great. And for myself, the difference now is that I'm much better at recognizing when it's happening and managing it from there. So whatever that looks like for me. Sometimes just the acknowledgement is enough to go, Belle, it's interesting that you feel this right now. Other times, I go, okay, I can lean into that conversation and have that conversation with that person or those people. The truth is, the ability to say what we really feel requires courage. And until we practice courage on a continual basis, this can be really hard. So whether you're leading a new team or struggling with a personal matter, if you feel you're holding back and you can sense it in both your mind and your body, it's important to acknowledge that there's work that needs to be done in that particular area of your life right now, and that's okay. And today I want to share with you a couple of quick wins that you can use in your day-to-day life when it comes to speaking what you really feel. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect, and this is still a work in progress, but it's on the incline, and that's what we should all be aiming for. We're aiming for progress over perfection. So quick win number one is to acknowledge the feeling. Let's talk about acknowledging the feeling, and this is a really foundational step. Reflect on your week and pay attention to the moments where you felt like you were holding back. This could be during a meeting, during a casual conversation, or even in a personal relationship. Also notice if it happens around the same people or if it happens around different individuals, because there might be a pattern that's playing out there. And recognizing these patterns is really important because it gives you insight into when and sometimes why you feel this way. So for instance, a client of mine was recently in a meeting and she disagreed with the direction the project was taking, and she felt a knot in her stomach, indicating to her that she was holding something back. And by acknowledging the feeling, she could reflect on why she was hesitant to speak up. She knew that it was the fear of being judged. Yes, she knew that it was because she felt inferior and she was worried about their reaction. This is really important to know what is the reason. So when something like this happens in your own life, I encourage you to check in and go, what is the reason and what is the common pattern here? Another quick win is to assess and decide on the next best move. So once you've acknowledged the feeling, the next step is to assess and decide, do you want to express how you feel to the person directly? Do you just want to keep it and acknowledge it yourself? So what does it look like and feel like to you? As I mentioned before, sometimes just acknowledging the feeling might be enough to take away the tension. Other times you might need to talk it through with a trusted source or even with the person that it's happening with. Sometimes even a professional you'll need to talk it through with, or a coach, to gain more clarity. Sometimes, or if we go back to that client, in that same meeting, after we'd had a chat about it and she acknowledged what it was that was holding her back, she decided to approach the colleague that she trusted and discuss her concerns. And through the conversation, she gained confidence to be able to bring it up in the next meeting constructively. And this approach ensured that her concerns were heard without causing unnecessary conflict. Because quite often we want to say something, but we're scared of the conflict that's behind that, and it doesn't need to be that way. If we go a little bit deeper, I want to talk about if what we're thinking and feeling are the same as what we actually say. And by that I mean, is what we're thinking and feeling congruent to the way that we behave? Or are we holding back to avoid rocking the boat? And if we are, does this leave us frustrated and sometimes even hurt with certain individuals? For those that know me, they'll tell you that I'm quite open about certain things, but there are other things that I hold very close until I don't. And then when I express them, it doesn't always come out in the right way or at the right time. So while I'm recording this episode, it's also a reminder for me to drink my own Kool-Aid on this topic. And for me, that's the exciting part, acknowledging that there's growth still to do and recognizing that it's a journey as well for myself, just as much as it is for you as well listening. It's not uncommon to feel a sense of fear or anxiety about expressing our true feelings. Fear can stem from various sources. It could be fear of judgment, fear of conflict, fear of being misunderstood. And in many cases, it's a combination of all these factors that lead us to this point. So if you think about a scenario where you're in a team meeting and you have an idea that you believe could improve the project, but you hesitate to share it because you're worried your colleagues might think it's impractical, irrelevant, will take more time. And this fear of negative judgment, it holds you back from contributing valuable insights. This could be the same when you're talking to a friend or you're talking to a family member. So recognizing what's holding us back is really important to help us identify the underlying reasons for the hesitation. So are we afraid of being judged? Are we concerned about potential conflict? Are we worried that our words might not come out as we want? Or are we simply unsure if our feelings are even valid? So reflecting on situations when you've held back is really important, and ask yourself, if I didn't lean in, what was I afraid of? Was it rejection? Was it criticism? Or was it something else? And being able to understand this will help you address them more effectively in the future. And inspiring and encouraging those around us to do the same is really important as well. So the more that we encourage other people to do it and speak their truth, the more that as leaders or as team members, we can speak our truth, because we create an environment where everybody feels valued and encouraged. And it starts with us as individuals leading by example and expressing our thoughts and our feelings honestly, and showing others that it's okay to do the same, even if you make a mistake, even if you don't get it right at the same time. So share stories of when you spoke your truth. Share stories of when you didn't get it right. Be vulnerable with your team. It's super, super important. And so I want to share with you today, what are 3 ways to improve this moving forward? The first way is to own up to your fears and face them. So reflect on what exactly you are afraid of. As I mentioned before, is it rejection? Is it judgment? Or is it something else? Understanding this fear is the first step to overcoming it. So when you identify the fear, you can start to challenge it and ask yourself, what is the worst that could happen in this situation? Because often our fears, when we break it down to worst case scenario, isn't that bad. That's the first thing. Second part is to practice speaking your truth in a way that feels good. So expressing your thoughts in a constructive manner, using I statements to communicate how you feel without sounding like you're accusing the other person. So for example, instead of saying you never listen to my ideas, you can say, I feel unheard when my ideas aren't considered. And so you're saying a very similar thing, but in a very different way. So that's the second way. And the third way is to reflect and reframe when it doesn't go to plan. It's not always going to be perfect. You are learning and you are growing. Not every conversation will go how you've planned it in your mind, and that's okay. Reflect on what happened, learn from it, and think about how you can approach it differently next time. So if a conversation doesn't go as planned, don't be too hard on yourself. Instead, use it as a learning opportunity for next time. So thanks for taking the time to tune in to this episode. Speaking our truth and what we really feel takes courage, and it's a work in progress. Sometimes what we picture in our mind and the outcome is different to when it comes out, but it's continuing to lean in. That's the really crucial step towards living a successful, purposeful, and fully charged life. So if you found this episode helpful, please like, subscribe, share it with someone who you feel might benefit. And until next time, stay courageous and keep striving for high performance. Your coach, Belle.